Hi, my name is Ranveer Brar. I'm a chef by profession. That's what I started out to be, and very happy to be a chef. I'm told that I have to speak about my life lessons, my life journey. So I was born in Lucknow. Dad was an aeronautical engineer. He was a gold medalist in IIT, and he realized that he did not want to do farming anymore. Engineering was his calling, and from Kanpur, he moved to Lucknow. He helped set up the first indigenous landing gear injection seats. I was born in that family of farmers, engineers. But what I grew up realizing was that a farmer at heart is always a farmer at heart. Grandfather, in spite of being in Lucknow, took 6 odd acres just to make sure that we were always around farmlands. I think that helped develop a good, strong connect to food. When you connect to food at an ingredient level, the connect is much deeper. You feel more strongly for your medium. Growing up, like in any other Punjabi joint family, most of the conversations are around food. And when you are a joint family, a lot of running around that you do as the youngest kid in the family is also for food. Sometimes you're going to grab the groceries. Sometimes you go grab some other stuff. And that was my first education, running around to buy stuff. कभी चाय पत्ती खत्म हो गई, कभी चीनी खत्म हो गई, कभी मिर्ची खत्म हो गई, तो वो पड़ोस का जो परचून वाला होता है उसके बाद सबसे घर के छोटे बच्चे को भेजा जाता है, right? And that's where it sort of started. I feel it started building in for me, and then being a Fauji family, a Sunday Gurdwara culture is a must. That Sunday Gurdwara culture brought in the whole idea of langar and what it could do to a large community of people, bring them together, the joy of cooking in large quantities, all that really, really excited me. And then as you grow up, you understand that beyond the community, there is this beautiful city of Lucknow. And you cannot but not fall in love with food if you are born in Lucknow and brought up in Lucknow. At some point in time, it gets to you. So it did get to me as well. The city and its passion for food got to me. And that's when I decided that this is what I really want to do. This is my calling. Also, there was a big bit of the rebel in you, right? That no, I don't want to be an engineer. I don't want to be the cliche doctor, engineer, IAS officer. At that point in time, India in the 90s, these were the top 3 professions. The need to do something different and not sort of fit in was the overarching factor, and food just seemed to be the right calling at that point in time. Chose to be a chef. Not a profession that everybody understood. We're talking about India in the mid-90s. Took some time explaining the profession. The inertia was there from the parents. Eventually everybody got it. I've worked with some street vendors, went through some really harsh education just to prove to my parents that this is what I really want to do, and it's not just a fad that'll go with time. That is basically how it started for me. Professionally trained to be a chef, and that's when the fun started. This industry, there's this passion for cooking, and then there is this business of food, and the business of food is very demanding. It's physically demanding, it's laborious. It's at that point in time, when I passed out of college, there were 40 odd hotels, and that's about it. So you basically had only 40 positions of executive chefs open at some point in time. You just hoped that some position would open up somewhere. And so it wasn't the most easily accessible industry. You really had to work your way through it. And I loved that. I loved the fact that I could just spend as much time as I wanted. Hotels were 24 hours. People really wouldn't mind me helping them out, so I could just spend as much time as I wanted. Those were the formative years, and they helped me form into the chef, get a personality. And that personality is very, very important when it comes to you being a cook. I think cooking is a medium of expression. Until you find your expression, it's very, very difficult to distinguish yourself. I was fortunate to do that very early in life, and I became an executive chef when I was 25. Got bored pretty early, and that's when life started happening. That's when the lessons started happening. Till then, everything was fine. Whatever Ranveer was touching was turning into gold, and then he decides, this is it. I want to move to the US and open my own restaurant, and the reality sinks in. The reality is that US doesn't know and really doesn't care about who Ranveer is. So Ranveer has to slog all over again. The first restaurant shuts down. The recession hits at the same time. And here we are. We are out on the streets fighting for survival, right from being the guy with the Midas touch in India. That's when the reality sank in. I was out on the streets, homeless for 13 odd days, and that's when I realized that this business is as cruel as any other business, and I really need to invest myself more into not just the chef I am, but also the business side of things. Fortunately, I had invested a lot in people, and those people pulled me back. We created some restaurants together. 10 of them still exist in Boston. For me, the biggest learning at that point in time was the biggest investment that you can do in good or bad times is invest in people, invest in relationships, and the quality of relationships. Also, sometimes as chefs, we get carried away with our expression and just believe that the world will just accept whatever we have to say. It doesn't work like that. It's important to hear first, speak later in the business of food. That's one learning that I took. Moved back from the US, back to India. Dad was diagnosed with cancer, went through some interesting personal times. And then when I moved back, there was this conversation about food television, and I was a very, very hesitant entrant into the world of food television. I look at my first show and I would hardly look at the camera. I would just look down and cook, and that's all that I did. Eventually, I think, made friends with this medium as well. I think the stronger belief that drives me and that drove me to accepting and performing was the fact that if you're a chef, you're an artist first, and you have to believe that expression is paramount. I look at the camera, I look at my videos, my performances as another avenue for expression, and that's how it becomes easy. So in a way, if you've trained to be a certain professional, you end up being more than that, and it just becomes a part of your life. Being a chef, you can't really separate it from me, and after a point in time, those professional lessons become life lessons. That's the life that I'm living right now. Wasn't easy adapting to television and running restaurants at the same time. But again, the initial lessons of believing in the fact that there are 24 hours in a day, and if you want, you can utilize the only person who's sort of stopping you from making the most of the time that you have is you yourself. That helps me today when I'm trying to do different things at different point in time. There is the business side of things, there's the analytics, and I call it the MBA side of things, and yet there is always the intuitive side of things. You really need to find a balance between both. I'm fighting that fight, but I think it's very, very important to intuitively look at the crystal glass and understanding that sometimes going with the flow is also as important as having a strategy, a plan, short-term, long-term goals in place. The world around us is changing so fast that a lot of times what becomes important is for us to understand the space we are flowing in. And a lot of times plans have to change, strategies have to change because the world is changing so fast. And that's what I'm doing. I cook for television, I cook on the digital medium, and I look at all that as an extension of who I am. After a point in time, I think that's what takes over. Who we are takes over what we want to be or what do we want. Or, at the end of the day, sometimes being a human being takes over a human want or a human need. And that's basically the journey that I'm trying to be on. देखिए, अगर मूल मंत्र की बात करें, if we talk about lessons in life that I've learned, तो कुछ चीज़ें जो हैं वो मेरे बड़ी काम आई हैं. एक तो ये कि अगर आप बहुत कंफर्टेबल हैं और अगर आपका रास्ता जो है वो नॉर्मल है तो कुछ गड़बड़ है. A little bit of discomfort is important, चाहे आप के प्रोफेशन में हो, चाहे आपकी चॉइसेस में हो. ऑब्वियस चॉइसेस जो है ना वो ऑब्वियस रिजल्ट्स देती हैं. जब हमने काम शुरू किया तो the obvious choice was a doctor, engineer, IAS officer. This was not an obvious choice. So if today being a chef is an obvious choice, I think we need to sort of dig a little deeper, find what that other calling can be. दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि कल की दुनिया जो थी, yesterday's world was a world of knowledge. Knowledge was difficult. Internet wasn't there. बहुत दौड़ भाग करनी पड़ती थी. You had to run around for recipes. You had to sort of take library memberships और उस्तादों से पूछो ये करो वो करो. Today's world is a world of wisdom. Knowledge सब तरफ है. उसको इस्तेमाल कैसे करना है और what piece of knowledge and how do you apply it is the wisdom that's become important in today's world. So if you're starting off, don't make the obvious choices. Choose wisely, है ना? और ये टॉप शेल्फ आंसर्स को एक बार ना बोलो. और तीसरा, आई थिंक दुनिया कोई भी हो, जितनी मर्जी आसान हो जाए, द वर्ल्ड might seem the easiest, we might be surrounded by air conditioners and easy information, easy knowledge. Eventually, the last man standing will always win. तो जो खड़े रहने की जिद है वो बहुत ज़रूरी है, कल हो या आज हो. I think that these are basic fundamentals. I'd say that I feel worked yesterday and will work till we want to excel in life.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.